Hey guys, Zomfox here, and today we're going to be talking about how the USFL players have been doing in the NFL, as we have just finished the first third of the NFL season, as we just finished Week 6 and are heading into Week 7, and Week 7 actually just started, but that's against the point. We're going to be looking at how the USFL guys have been doing, as there's been a few guys who have actually played in games, a couple guys in rosters. So, without further ado, let's get started by talking about it. So as of right now, there have been 6 total players who have played NFL games. But before I get into that, just a quick mention to Chris Odom. Chris Odom technically has not played a game, but he is actually still technically on a roster-ish. He was put on IR. So the Browns might actually have plans for him to stay there for next year, or maybe hope he gets back somehow really quick from his ACL tear that he had. So just as an FYI, Odom is still legitimately on a team pretty much, as he's on IRs. They didn't release him or anything. So that's just a, quick mention. Now, to put it simply, I'm talking about Cavante Turpin last thing, everyone knows it. The only other guy who started a Week 1 game with Cavante Turpin or played in one was Micah Abernathy. He actually did play in Week 1 of the season, but that was the only game he played. He played for the Packers, and he didn't really do much. He just had, some special team snaps. So, he didn't really have a huge impact, and that was the game they lost. He was on 6 snaps, and then, he was pretty much just gone. So, sadly for him, that was pretty much it for this year as of right now. Hate to see it, but this was his first ever NFL game, which is definitely a good thing for him. Allowing him to actually play some stuff is pretty cool. Then, in terms of other guys we've got, in the next one that actually did play was actually Maurice Alexander Jr. He was the third player to play, and he actually ended up playing a couple weeks. This was mainly due to the fact that he was on the Lions practice squad, and essentially name your Lion, they got hurt, like DJ Chark, Amon St. Brown, DeAndre Swift. All these running back receivers kept on pretty much just getting hurt, which naturally is a bad thing for them, but it's a good thing for guys like Maurice Alexander Jr. to be able to actually come in and, get some snaps in and stuff like that. He was mainly just there for the kick returning game. He was pretty solid. He did have a couple of decent returns, but overall on 3 kick returns, he had 62 yards for 20 yards, 0.6, which really isn't that good if I'm going to be real with you guys. You would rather hope that they'd have, 25 at least per, but he did have, I believe, one pretty good one, and he basically did that. I mean, he was active, I think, for another week maybe, but he did play in Week 4, and that was his, big thing was there. And then it's pretty good for him, seeing him actually get to play is pretty nice, and have a couple good games like that. Then you have the kicker, Taylor Bertollet. He ended up getting his shot with the LA Chargers, and that was due to their kicker, Dustin Hopkins, being hurt. And, man, he was really great. He was perfect on his field goals. He got the game ball. He was like 3 for 3 on kicks, both field goals, and 3 for 3 on extra points. It's really sweet to see someone like him, who hasn't really gotten his shot for a while, come back and have a great performance. And especially with how guys like Matt Amendola have been pretty bad for multiple teams, and guys like Rodrigo Blankenship are getting their second chances. I wouldn't be shocked if he signs up somewhere else, or if Hopkins' injury gets even worse. And then the last 2 players are the most recent 2. You have Mitchell Fabroni, who made his NFL debut this year with the Denver Broncos. He won the long snapper job. He ended up playing in 11 snaps for, special teams as, the long snapper. And he actually did record a tackle, which is pretty cool. So it was definitely a nice thing to see that for him, him get a shot and actually, do something pretty cool like that. And then you have the cornerback, Tay Hayes, who made his debut for the Panthers, actively taking Carolina Panthers. In terms of what he did, he only actually appeared in 21 snaps, but he did record a tackle as well. So that's cool for him and stuff like that. But we all know who we're talking about, the USFL MVP, Cavante Turpin. The guy's been playing in every single game as their returner, and he did 1 rush, but he's basically just been a returner. In terms of his return game, he's had multiple games where he had a couple, long returns, both in punting and kick returns. To put it simply, it's just, he's been really solid overall in the NFL. When you watch Cowboys games, there are multiple times where he has big runs, for big returns. Now, sometimes they get called back for penalties because he is on the Dallas Cowboys, but he's been a very consistent returner, and I think is genuinely one of the better returners in the league, and he's definitely showing that his speed and all that wasn't a joke. and he is definitely a very, very solid player. So it's definitely a good thing to see him keep going. And now it's like I said at the beginning. I said at the beginning that even though it was a bad look for say that only 2 guys made the active rosters to start the year, I just say that as the season goes on, more and more guys are getting their shots. And considering the fact that Maurice Alexander Jr., Mitchell Fabroni, Tay Hayes, and Bertollet all got their shots post week 4, it's definitely a good sign. So overall, that's been the first third of the year. We'll check back, after week 12, and then again after week 18, stuff like that. So yeah, this has been ZomFox. If you enjoy this content, we might notify as soon as I upload any videos. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell, and as always, have a great night.